Today I'm going to talk about what the difference between child custody and child visitation is and what it means for you. Before we begin, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that this is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Every person's situation is different. Watching this video does not mean that we are in an attorney-client relationship. That being said, if you want to ask any general questions, feel free to do so in the comment section below, or call my phone number in the description box below to set up a free consultation. California is where I'm licensed, so that's all of my videos are only about California. In California, there is child custody, child visitation. Child custody means who makes the decisions for the child. So there's two types of custody. Let me back up. Legal custody and physical custody. The first one, legal custody. That means who's going to make the decisions for the child or children regarding their health, education, and general welfare. So that means what immunizations are they going to have, what pediatrician are they going to go to, what school are they going to, what extracurriculars are they going to be involved in, who are they going to spend their time with, while in your care, things of that nature. Are they going to go to summer camp? All of the decision making for that child is legal custody. You can have joint legal custody where the parents make the decisions together. You can have sole legal custody, but even if you have sole legal custody, you are still obligated by law to inform the other parent of all of your decisions. So if you decide the parent's going to go to Montessori school, the child is going to go to Montessori school, you have to tell the other parent that your child is going to Montessori school and inform them of the school's address and whatnot. In most circumstances, you also have to tell the other parent about any parent-teacher conferences. Of course, if there's a domestic violence restraining order, there are, and you're the protected party, you are protected in some ways from having to do that. If the two of you have a super contentious relationship, there are programs out there that will allow you to do this so that you don't have to speak directly to each other. There is a program called Our Two Houses, and there's also another program called Our Family Wizard or My Family Wizard. Those are programs where you can upload the children's schedules, you can upload report cards, you can put general information about your child or children, you can upload pictures, and you can send messages to the other parent. A lot of parents in contentious parent relationships love these programs because it takes out that feeling that you're actually having to communicate with the other parent when you have such a contentious relationship. That being said, you are going to have to, and like I said, unless there's like a restraining order or something, you are going to have to communicate with the other parent because, pretty much for the duration of your child's minority, because, you have a child together. So, if you need to get some therapy or see a counselor about how to do that, that might not be a bad idea. So that's legal custody, the decision-making power. Physical custody just means with whom does the child reside or whose address is the child using, which parent. Now, that doesn't affect too much. It can affect, obviously, where the child can go to school. If you have an address that's in a better school system than your other parent and you end up getting sole physical custody or joint physical custody, great. If the other parent is in a better school system, you might want to talk to the court about that, or you might want to consider either agreeing to joint custody or giving the other parent physical custody so that the child can go to that better school system. The other big thing, in my opinion, that physical custody affects is your right and ability to move away with a child. If you have sole physical custody and you want to move out of state or, further than a couple hours away, you really need to get the court's permission to move with the child, A. But if you have physical custody, sole physical custody, the court is going to be more inclined to grant your move away request. If you have joint physical custody, it might be a little tougher to get the court to do that. You're going to have to overcome, again, it's going to be the best interest of the child standard, and you're going to really need to overcome that standard. Explain why your moving away is going to benefit your child or children. So that's physical custody. And so those are the two types of physical custody: legal custody, which is the decision-making power, and physical custody, which is the child's address. So we put custody over to the side and start talking about visitation, which is a separate issue from custody. Visitation just means the timeshare, the schedule that the child has with each of the parents. In California, we're a 50-50 state. That means that the court is going to assume that it's in the child's best interest to enjoy a 50-50 timeshare, an even timeshare between the parents, unless it can be proven otherwise. If there's a domestic violence restraining order, for example, the court is not going to assume that it's in the child's best interest to spend 50% of their time with the parent that has been found by the court to be the abuser. However, if there's no domestic violence issues, there's no drug issues or safety concerns, anything like that, then the court is likely going to assume that it's in the child's best interest to spend half of their time with one parent and half of their time with the other parent. And visitation schedules can look like a number of different things. You know your life better than some stranger in a black robe, the judge, does. And so a lot of times it's a little easier and you get a lot further in getting what you want if you're able to work with the other parent and work out a situation that, you know, is beautiful for everyone involved. You might not get exactly what you want, but it will be something that you can live with. You don't want to agree to anything that you're not going to be able to live with. So there's different kinds of visitation schedules. You can have, if you're doing an even timeshare, you can have the child 2 days, then they go to the other parent for 2 days, and then they come back to you for 3 days. And then you start all over again. And that essentially looks like you're alternating weekends, and then you're alternating whether you get Mondays and Tuesdays or Wednesdays and Thursdays with the child. That's called a 2-2-3 schedule, and those are very popular. Then there's the 2-2-5 schedule, which is similar to what I just said. 2 days with you, 2 days with the other parent, then 5 days with you, and 5 days with the other parent, and then it starts all over again. That's more common in older children, because I think for children younger than like 7 or 8, 5 days is a little too long to go without seeing the other parent. So you could still do something like that, but maybe in the middle of the 5 days, the non-custodial parent gets to have dinner with the child or something. That's very common. Then there's week on, week off, which a lot of teenagers really enjoy, a week on, week off schedule, because, you know, they're old enough to be able to go a full 7 days without seeing the other parent. You know, it's not going to be too hard on them. And it's easier to keep track, especially when you get into the really busy teenage lives schedule. So 2-2-3, 2-2-5, and week on, week off is a pretty common 50-50 arrangement. There's also alternating weekends. Let's say that one of the parents is a domestic violence abuser and is coming off of supervised visitation and, you know, has done all of everything that they're supposed to do and is ready to start having unsupervised visits or overnights. Or not. Maybe the children are just closer to one of the parents. And so, you know, the other parent is going to start out with a little less timeshare than the first parent. Okay, so a lot of times what courts will order is that the non-custodial parent gets every weekend, or every first, third, and if there's a fifth weekend of the month, the fifth weekend. And this, you know, another thing that is helpful here is if it's during the school year, the exchanges can be at school. So the parent picks up the child from school after school and then on Friday, and then drops them off at school on Monday. And a lot of parents like that because then they don't have to see each other during the exchanges. And again, that's only going to work for children who are old enough to escort themselves to and from the car and the door of the building. So wouldn't be appropriate for, like a preschooler. You'd actually have to park your car, get out, etc. There's also curbside exchanges where you drop your kiddo off at the other parent's just on the curb, like on the street. You don't actually have to get up and walk the child to the door unless you and the other parent agree to do that. Maybe the child has a short attention span, or maybe the neighborhood isn't so great and you want to make sure that the child gets to the other parent safely. Then there's supervised visitation. And again, this is something that's often ordered when there has been a showing to the court. The court has found domestic violence, or the court has found that one of the parents has a substance abuse problem, or is a gang member, or is in some way has a violent criminal history. Then that parent might start out with some supervised visitation, and you can have professionally supervised visits at a center where the supervisor is actually typing everything that is said and done. And then you can have non-professionally supervised, which is where you have like a family member or a friend supervise the visits, and they're just there to make sure that the house doesn't burn down, or and that they would feel comfortable intervening if need be, making sure that the kids stay off the rafters, that sort of thing. Don't start a fire, or make sure that the parent is watching the children the whole time, is not doing drugs the whole time, etc. If one of the parents has a drinking problem, you can also do a breathalyzer before and after each visit, and with an order from the court that the parent needs to blow a 0 in the breathalyzer before he or she is able to exercise their visit for that day. This is very common in cases where one of the parents has a drinking problem, and it makes both parents feel pretty well protected, because the person with the drinking problem knows that they're still going to be able to get their visits just as long as they don't drink before the visit, and that the other parent doesn't have all the control and just withholding the visit just because he or she thinks that they've been drinking. And then, of course, the non-alcoholic parent has the peace of mind that the custodial parent has not been drinking. And then you blow again at the end of the visit, and this ensures that that parent didn't drink during the visit. And if they did, then they forfeit their visitation until you go back to court next, or whatever the case may be. So those are types of visitation issues and visitation examples of things, options that you have available to you. At the end of the day, you and the other parent know your schedules and the schedules of your children better than the court does. So if you saw my previous video about writing up a declaration, you want to make sure that you inform the court of all of those issues and all of the facts and details of your schedule. But at the end of the day, you and the other parent are really in the best position to make those decisions for your family. And so getting together, trying to see past your differences and bitterness just for a brief moment to be able to nail down a schedule that works for everyone really is in everyone's best interest. If you can't do that, that's okay. That's what the court is there to help you do. So please feel free to leave me any general questions that you might have in the comment section below. Call for a free consultation. I'll leave my phone number in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best with your custody visitation matters.